Jimmy Ruffin in 1966 sung a popular song titled, "What Becomes of the Brokenhearted?" That's a good question. But a more important question is, what becomes of the stubborn-hearted? In a previous lesson, we discussed the value of Sabbath rest to us and to the environment. And though we need rest, and God has set aside a day for us to rest, we often find that there is a longing in our heart for more. In this 6-part series, we discover what more is and how we can obtain it. If you would like to review a copy of the lesson, you can obtain it at ssnet.org, that is ssnet.org. Click on Adult SS and select Weekly Lesson. Our key text for this lesson is in 1 Corinthians 10, verse 6, the English Standard Version, and it says, "Now these things took place as examples for us, that we might not desire evil as they did." That's 1 Corinthians 10, 6, the English Standard Version. In part 4, we found that the Bible contains models, symbols, or word pictures that illustrate rest. One example is found in the book of Hebrews, especially Hebrews 4, 1 through 11. The concept in Hebrew is on not giving up and staying loyal to God. It contains an invitation to stay strong in the faith, believe God's promise, and rest in the provisions he has made to redeem us and give us rest through his dear son, Jesus, who was foreordained even before the world was created. However, the Israelites rebelled against God. Therefore, they never experienced the rest God promised them. This is part 5 of a 6-part series on longing for more. The title for part 5 is "What Becomes of the Stubborn-Hearted?" And then, "Do not let your hearts become stubborn." Hebrews 4, 4 through 7, and Psalms 95, 8 through 11 offer a warning to the people of God about being stubborn-hearted. Hebrews 4, 4 through 7, the New King James Version says, "For he has spoken in a certain place of the seventh day in this way. And God rested on the seventh day from all his work. And again, in this place, they shall not enter my rest. Since therefore it remains that some must enter it, and those to whom it was first preached did not enter because of disobedience. Again, he designated a certain day, saying in David, today, after such a long time, as it has been said, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." Now, Psalms 95, 8 through 11, the New King James Version says, "Do not harden your heart, as in the rebellion, as in the day of trial in the wilderness, when your fathers tested me. They tried me, though they saw my work. For 40 years I was grieved with that generation, and said, it is a people who go astray in their hearts, and they do not know my ways. So I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest." Now, Hebrews 4, 4 through 7 talks about how the Israelites did not show faith in God. That is why they did not enter into the rest God wanted for them. In Hebrews 4:4-7, we also see quotes from Psalms 95, especially Psalms 95, 8-11. It shows us a connection between the experience of Israel in the wilderness or the desert with the rest that God gives us from sin. Psalms 95 tells us that God makes a promise that Israel will not enter into his rest. And that at that time, people believed that rest meant just the promised land, the earthly Canaan. But rest in the Old Testament times included more than just the land the people lived on. Of course, the people of Israel entered the promised land, that is the land of Canaan, 40 years later. That happened after the old Israelites died in the wilderness because they did not trust God to give them rest. Then a new generation of Israelites was born in the wilderness. This new generation replaced the disobedient, stubborn-hearted Israelites who died. The younger Israelites entered the promised land and lived there. But as time passed, the future children of this new group of Israelites became stubborn-hearted. They did not have an experienced faith in Jesus as their Savior. Their lack of faith was manifested by flagrant disobedience. They had no faith in his saving love, so they did not really have rest. These Israelites broke the law of God. Their disobedience showed that they did not trust God. In Hebrews 4:6, we see that the people of God knew about his promise of true rest, but because of their stubborn-heartedness and their outright disobedience, they did not enter into God's rest. What is the connection between not obeying God and not entering into his rest? The Greek word for today in Hebrews 4:6, the English Revised Version, is cimarron. Cimarron helps us see that we have no time to waste. Cimarron, or today, shows us that God asks us to make a decision right now. He wants us to accept his rest now, today. Today means he requires a response and a decision from us now. Paul, the writer of Hebrews, shows us that if we really want rest, we must answer God today. Cimarron. Psalms 95, 7 and 8 warns us not to make the mistake that the Israelites made. If we do, we fail to enter into the rest that we can find only in God and his mercy and in the salvation he offers us. So what happens to the stubborn-hearted? They receive no rest. Besides the seventh-day Sabbath rest, did you know that there is more to rest for the people of God? We will discover more about that rest in the final part of this series, part 6, titled Another Rest for the People of God.